So I'm Maddie. I'm a junior. I'm the outreach team lead on Ferrodermis. And this is Miss Mosberg.
So my name's Laura Mosbrook. I'm the team administrator for 6574. So 8 years ago, we were approached by, or I was approached by two seniors who wanted to know if we could start a robotics team. And I had no idea what that was all about. So a lot of this is like lessons that we learned the first time around or things that I wish I would have known. Did you know? Did you understand a regional before you
I
went
didn't
to it the first time?
I didn't understand any of this before my first regional. So it would have been really nice to go to something like this and like just learn a little bit about robotics and like what to expect before just like getting thrown into it. So I hope this helps you guys a lot.
Cool.
One of my favorite parts about FRC is going to regionals and competitions. So I think you guys might like it too.
Yeah. So 930, obviously you're a very experienced team. You've got a lot of support there. Laser, you've been around for quite a while, but this is your first year. You are 930 as well. Aha. All right. Well, hopefully you learn a lot. What school are you from or what community? South Milwaukee? Okay, cool. Welcome.
Okay. Okay, so kickoff. I'm sure by now you've all heard about kickoff. It's basically the big reveal. Like, what is what's the competition for this year? What are we gonna do? What are the rules? Like, how are we gonna complete this mission? And they give us the mission of what we have to do with our robot. So you're gonna get to see the game animation, which is what the game is. It's basically a video where it'll show you exactly what your robot has to do and what challenges it has to complete. And then they'll give you a game manual where it'll have all the rules. It's about this thick. Everything you need to know is in this game manual. And later we'll talk about other places you could find if you have more questions. So that'll be on the next slide though. Um, so by now, all of your teams have picked your kit of parts, what you want. So there's the physical kit of parts, which is if you're a rookie team, it's a rookie tote. And there's the black tote and a new kit bot, which is basically like a like it has everything you need to build the robot. So that's pretty cool. I don't know what your teams have chosen, but I'm sure you guys could find that out from your teams. There's also season specific things, so
Hmm.
you'll get like I think this year was the cubes and the cones, so it would be like whatever that is.
Hmm. So the virtual kit, the vouchers, if you haven't already looked, you do have access to some discount codes and some almost like gift certificates in your first dashboard. So some of them are there now, and some of them will not be released until kickoff day. But it's very easy to overlook, especially if you're new, to not realize that those things are there for you. We just spent a $50 voucher at Rev the other day, which is very cool.
Yeah, and it really helps in the long run having
Hmm.
those
Yep. And
discounts.
and then first choice is going as well. Did you guys participate in the first round of first choice? Do you know? Okay. It's almost like credits that you get. So companies give things to first that first can then give away to teams. And it's almost like an online lottery. Like you put in your preferences, what you would like, and then first goes through or Andy Mark goes through and says, okay, you can have this. This team can have this. This team can have this. So there'll be a second round that will open on kickoff day. So
Okay, so when you have questions, you have to read the rule book. So like that's where you'll find most of the answers to your questions. But there's also other places you could go to when you have more questions. So obviously like your teammates and your mentors talk about them before you go to outside sources, but there's a lot of other places where you could get rule clarification. So by other teams, like you could reach out to us anytime if you have questions, and if we know the answers, we'll tell you and we could just discuss. And many other teams are very open to talking to you guys about any questions you have. And then robot in 3 days is basically like they make a robot in 3 days. So it's our challenge, but people who have like previously graduated from the first program, they will make the robot for our competition in 3 days. So that's kind of crazy, seeing as we have like a month, 2 months almost, and we're still like always doing something. To make it in 3 days is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could obviously go to the first official Q&A. So ask first your questions, see like if other teams have similar questions, and then Chief Delphi. Do you want to?
Yeah, so Chief Delphi, online website, um, constant communication between FRC people from all over the world asking questions, debating about the best way to handle things. So if you are new, just go and read. You don't have to post, you don't have to ask questions, but you can learn a lot just by going and reading. Okay. So I believe it's just chiefdelphi.com. So.
Mhm. And then, as I said before, just ask other teams. Like, if your team has a question, and you could just reach out to other teams,
Mm-hmm.
and they're usually more than willing to answer any questions that you have.
Yep. First Wisconsin runs a mentor Slack for all of the mentors in the state, and constant questions on there. And teams just so willing to help each other. I think that was the biggest thing I learned my first year was about how willing other teams were to share information and just help you out whenever.
Okay. And then to find sources of data on teams, like what teams are going to be at your competition, where you're ranked when you're at competitions, um, that it. Like, there's more
Mm-hmm.
things you could find out from these websites, but the Blue Alliance has like every team that's going to competitions. If you want to like see what competitions they're going to, if you already know that, then you could like compare teams. What competitions are you guys going to? Do you know yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all right. You didn't? Oh, you?
You did.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. So we'll see you there at both of those.
Yep. Laser, where are you guys going? Do you know? Uh huh.
Oh yeah, lacrosse is fun.
Okay.
So we'll see you there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So you could just find information about what teams are going to be at the competitions that you're going to, and if you know people on the other teams, which you probably don't yet, but you'll meet people, so
Hmm.
that'll be nice.
And it's not a bad idea to reach out to those teams ahead of time.
Mhm.
So we'll talk later about scouting and all of that, but we're already in contact with some of the teams that are going to be at the regionals that we are going to be at, so we can make plans to work together and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So.
And then Statbotics has like the stats on robots, so.
Yep.
So build season. Build season is immediately after kickoff, and it's approximately 6 to 8 weeks. So during this time, you have to like cram. We are basically there every night except for we have Wednesdays off and then Sundays off, but we're there all day Saturday and then 3 hours every other day of the week. So it's a lot of time. It's definitely a lot of time, but it's really fun and you get a lot done. There's so much to get done during this time. Like, you get to learn so many new skills. You get to learn about the robot, the programming, like anything. Do you guys know what you want to do yet for being a part of the team? Yeah. Like what sub team?
Programming.
Programming? Okay. Marketing.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So CAD is really busy, especially in the first part when you're like designing the robot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and there's so much to do. There's so much to build and construct, and other than the robot. So you can see in the picture in the bottom left there, the start of some bumpers. Okay, so if you haven't yet invested in pool noodles, make sure you find some pool noodles. Um, but planning for those bumpers should not be like a last minute thing. So something you want to like be like catting right along. As soon as you have your drive base, can you create your bumpers? In the middle picture on the bottom, you can see they're assembling one of the practice field elements. So depending on how much space you have, you can assemble as much of a practice field as you would like. So our first year, we had a couple of little wooden items that our robot could, drive up and interact with. And as our space has grown, we've grown into building half a practice field. So it's whatever your team has room for and whatever your team thinks they need to interact with.
Mhm.
And if you can't build your own, there are a lot of teams that will invite you in to practice on theirs.
Yeah. And right now, before build season, is the time where you want to like learn everything that you can before you have to like, well, people still have the time to teach you basically, because once build season starts, there's not as much time to like just focus one on one with people, whereas now there's a lot more time for that. And don't be afraid to like try new things, because I remember like when I joined Veridermis, I thought I was going to be making t-shirts. That's the one reason I joined. My my cousin told me, he was like, "Join, you get to make t-shirts." And I was like, "That's so cool." I have not once made a t-shirt. I haven't even like looked at like I look at the t-shirt designs because I'm obviously wearing one, but I have no part in t-shirt making. And yeah, so you don't always end up doing what you think you want to do in the beginning. So just be like open to trying new things, and like anything your team needs help with. If you're like, "Oh, that sounds a little bit interesting," just try it out. Like you don't have to stick with it as long as you give it a shot. And yeah, so just figure out like an idea of what you want to help with and learn as much as you can about it before, like, well, there's still time to do that. This thing doesn't go back. I don't know how I
Yep,
did that.
other way. There you go.
So during the competition season, after build season, your competitions will start. So I don't know if any of you are going to a week zero, but it's a pre-regional. So it's basically just scrimmages, and it gives you a really good chance and your team a really good chance to practice driving your robot. And it's like a lot less scary than a regional would be. And so you could attend it even if your robot doesn't work, so that you could get ideas from other teams and like see what they're doing with their robots and like the strategies that they're using. It's really good to observe other teams' strategies, and it gives you a lot of like insight.
Mhm. So there is a week zero at Sussex Hamilton High School. Registration is open now. I think it's somewhere in the $200 to $300 range. Um, but last year, the night before Sussex, we decided our robot could not function. Like it was not drivable. Um, so we left a crew behind at school to work on the robot, and we took the rest of the students over to the week zero event so that they could see the other robots and take part in the workshops and things like that. So even if your robot won't be there, send a team of kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then once you get to week 1 through 0, that's the regional and district events. So that's when you get to have your actual competitions. And those are the ones you want to win. Like you want to give your all for those ones. I'm not saying you don't want to give your all for week 0, but you might not be able to if your robot isn't like fully ready yet. But for weeks 1 through 6, that's when your real competitions are going to be, and you're going to be wanting to like just try your hardest. And you could also watch live streams. So of other competitions, so you could watch like to see their strategies and what other teams are doing, how other teams are doing, what you could pick up from them.
Yep. Yeah, during our work days, if there's a competition going on, there's almost always a TV screen somewhere that has the competition so that students can stop and watch, um, see what's going on, watch how teams are working together, watch um, what they're able to accomplish. Is there something that the robots aren't doing that maybe you could do? Because that can make you valuable to an alliance. If your robot has some skill, for lack of a better word, that other robots don't.
Yeah. And then so in between your competitions, you could also just keep working on your robot, trying to make your robot the best it can be. So you'll have like a little bit of time in between each of your competitions to just work on your robot and fix any problems, because sometimes at competitions your robots break. Like I'm gonna be honest, ours in the past has not, especially Duluth. We've had some issues, but we always fix it right after, and we're better for the next one, and we're better for the next one, and you just keep improving your robot until it's its best. So, yeah. And then if you win the regional or district events, well,
We'll get
so
into the how to qualify,
yeah,
but yeah.
we'll get into how to qualify
Mm-hmm.
later. There's 600 qualifying teams, and then you get to go to Houston, Texas, so that's pretty awesome. But it's a lot of money. So if you come to my next thing, it'll be a little bit more like fundraising and stuff like that. So you got to fundraise a lot to get into Worlds. Um, how do I keep going? Wait, no. What's up? Going back earlier.
There we go.
That's okay. Okay, so a typical regional. So they're about 4 days. So Wednesday is like basically setup. So you set up. You have like a small crew to set up your pit and make. So this is our pit. It's pretty cool. We've got some curtains. There's some really cool pits there. I think ours is pretty cool. It's basically Wednesday. You just set up, like that's it. And then the teams, like our team has a dinner that night where we just like hang out as a team and have a dinner. It's really nice for bonding. And then day two is all practice. You're just practicing your robot, getting it out on the field, seeing how you play with other teams, maybe a little bit of scouting,
Mm-hmm.
just like seeing how you do.
Yep. Lots of times there might be workshops that day or things like that. So.
Yeah, there's always a lot to do, so you'll be busy. Um, and then day three is practice day in the morning. Usually there's practices in the morning, right? No,
Nope.
no.
Straight into qualifications
Oops.
on day 3.
Okay, yeah. So then you go into qualifications, and qualifications are basically when you're getting your ranking points and you're trying to win. You want to win the qualifications. Practice day it doesn't matter as much as you win. If you win, it's just more about strategy and like thinking about how you can win. But then qualifications you want to win. And then day four, which is usually Saturday, you'll have qualifications in the morning, and then there will be alliance selections where you'll get to pick your alliances. And then you'll move on. Once you have your alliances all picked, you'll move on to eliminations. And then after, well, in between eliminations and after, there will be awards. Oh, did I
Now you got to
skip
go back.
one?
There we go.
Okay. So things that will happen in the mornings there's usually an opening ceremony, and sometimes there's a national anthem choir, and you could join that. Like you could just sing the national anthem if you want. Like my singing voice isn't the best, but it's a really nice thing to be a part of. Like I've done it a few times because it's just like it's really nice to be a part of that. And like even if like you don't have to do it obviously, but it's just kind of fun. And then so there's a drive team meeting on the field. So they'll get the drive team down there, like all your drive teams, and then they'll talk about the rules and drive team stuff. Are any of you on your drive teams, or are you gonna try out? No, you're gonna try out. That's cool. And then, do you know who your safety captain is? You guys
Uh-huh.
have a safety captain?
Bonus to laser, they know who their safety captain is. Awesome.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so your safety captains will have a meeting too about like how you could keep your safety protocols up, making sure like everything's following the directions. Every team needs a safety captain, so we just need to make sure everything's safe. And then there will be inspections in your pits. So, well, the robot will get inspected in the pits, and then so there will be a weigh-in, and you'll have to make sure it's the proper weight. It'll get measured to make sure it has like the proper
Perimeter.
perimeter, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the proper height too. You got to make sure it's not like too tall or too short, depending on what the competition is. And then it'll just be like they'll make sure there's no sharp edges. So if there is sharp edges, you have to make sure you file those down. Like make sure there's no sharp edges because that could. Me and Ms. Boswick were talking about this the other day. You do not want to have sharp edges because they're not gonna like that. The judges will be very harsh about that. And then you have to have that completed before you could go into your qualification matches or your practice matches or any matches.
Yep. So on Thursday, just a second, on Thursday when it's practice day, you can participate in your scheduled practice matches while you're still in the process of being inspected. But once the scheduled matches are done, they create a practice queue where teams can just get in line and continue to go out and run practice on the field. you can't get in that queue unless you've fully completed your inspection. So the inspectors love it when you start early. Okay, like if you're the first in line to get your robot weighed and measured and all of that kind of stuff, and then get on their list so they will come to your pit then and do the rest of the inspection. So you have to finish that on Thursday. That has to be done on Thursday.
Do you have a question?
What if you fail any of the inspections?
The inspectors are wonderful, amazing, kind people who will work with you.
Okay.
So they will stay in your pit and help you and guide you, and other teams will help you and guide you. It's not like a you failed, go home. It's okay, we don't approve this yet. So how can we fix this? How can we help you fix this? Okay.
So if your edges are sharp, they'll if you don't have a file, you could go ask another team for a file. It's a nice environment at competitions because everybody's willing to help. Like they'll even make announcements where they'll be like, does anybody have a file? Does anybody have a screwdriver? Like this team needs help. Who's going to help them? So you have to be willing to help other teams, and other teams will be willing to help you. So if you need a file, you'll just file down your edges before you go out on the field, and then the inspectors will inspect it again and be like, okay, you're good. You're good to go.
So, and as long as you don't make any like major changes to your robot over the course of the competition, you don't have to be re-inspected until eliminations. Um, but if you like totally change out a part on your robot, now you have to get the inspectors back to re-inspect you. Yeah.
I'm assuming though it's still kind of a scramble. It's still not a good thing to be, not a good thing, but it's still you still really want to avoid having to get re-inspected because you lose a lot of time. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still really important to try and get your robot completely ready before. But if you do fail an inspection, there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
basically just like a backup system, like where you could help other teams will help you if you have like issues with your robot, but we're hoping that you don't.
And there it comes down to the rule book.
Yeah.
So how closely did your team read the rule book? Did you miss something? Did you misinterpret something? Are the inspectors interpreting something differently than you are? So it's it's that community helping each other to all meet those rules.
That's why it's really good to be like in contact with other teams too, because you could like talk about your ideas with them, and they'll be like, oh, I don't think that's what the rule book says, like I don't think that's right, and then you could have like a discussion about that before even going to competitions. And then once you get inspected, you get an inspection sticker.
One other thing, if I can add about the inspections, if you guys have the schedule for today, this Jeff Paul, who was doing the how to pass robot inspection, his email is on here. He is the lead robot inspector at a lot of the competitions around here. So if you have any questions ahead of time, email him and he will answer your questions.
Mm-hmm.
He goes all over being the lead robot inspector to lots of competitions. He knows his stuff. He's been doing this, I don't know, 10, 16 years, a long, long time. So if you have questions, email him.
And when we were rookies, he had even offered to come out to Whitewater and do an inspection with us. I think we ended up doing it virtually, camera on the robot, and he walked us through the inspection process. So very, very helpful man.
It's good that he's like right here in our community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so people, judges, look for blue shirts, blue judge shirts. So in this picture, you can see some judges. They're talking to us in the pit. They'll be walking all over, asking you questions and judging things. So they'll talk to you in the pits, and if you don't know an answer to one of their questions, just guide them to someone who does. Like it's not that big of a deal. Just be like, oh, I don't know that, but let me find you someone who does, and just go find someone who you think would know the answer. It's pretty easy. Don't lie to them. Just don't make up something. If you don't know the answer to a question, just be honest. Be like, I don't know that answer. Let me go find you someone who does, and I'm sure someone else on your team will know the answer to that question. Um, yeah, there's been times in the pit where people have asked me mechanical questions. And I'm like, I don't know the answer to this, so let me just go get someone over here. And so I'll drag one of my teammates over, and I'll be like, here you go. And it's just yeah. Um, so if you see someone in a black and white striped referee shirt, it's a referee. They'll be judging the matches, and yeah.
So the hats are a thing, and it's really nice because you can spot them all over the pits. So if you see somebody with a yellow hat, that is an inspector. Okay, it's like a neon green, neon yellow type color. Um, yep, and you can um, pick out the LRI. In most cases, Jeff. He'll also have a black vest on with all sorts of tools in it. Um, if you are wandering around the pits and wanting to talk to other teams, lots of times if you see a yellow hat or an orange hat in a pit, that's a good time to think I'll come back later because they might be very busy in the middle of something. Okay, so the orange hats, the CSAs, you can see one of them in our pit at one of our competitions. Usually, when you see an orange hat in a pit, something is really going wrong. Okay, it's the problem that's happening is above and beyond the knowledge of people on your team. So they are there to support you, mostly with your electrical system, your programming, and that sort of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and then for volunteers, they'll have the season shirts on, so it'll just depend on the year what they're wearing. Um, yeah, I don't know how much.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
I don't.
you might even see the announcers wandering around in the pits, like before things start. Lots of times they'll come and like ask teams, how do you want us to introduce you? What are your most important things that we should highlight when we introduce you? Is there a cheer that your team does? And we'll get into that in a little bit. So the announcers will want to know how to best interact with your team when they are announcing you at the start of a match. So.
So for food, no food is allowed in the pits. Like, don't bring food in the pits. You don't want it to get on the robot. You don't want to spill it. You don't want to make a mess. Just there's other places you could go and eat. Just avoid the pits. And then concessions are expensive, but sometimes stands will have extra like special deals. So just look for deals if you want. And then plan ahead. Like think at, like with your team. I'm sure your team has some sort of plan. So when will your pit crew get food? Like plan that ahead of time so you're not like scrambling. Where am I gonna get food? Where am I gonna get food? Because you might not want to go to the concession stands every day because that could get really expensive and you don't want to like spend all your money on concessions. Um, your team can order box lunches too, but those could also be expensive. So you just want to like plan ahead with your team. Talk to your team like, do we have team dinners? Like our team does a few like team dinners or team lunches, and sometimes the parents will chip in and like buy us a team dinner, which is really helpful. So just talk to your team, like think about how much money you need to bring to competitions so that you could like plan that ahead. So for gameplay and scoring, you're gonna have your practice matches, which are scheduled matches, and you have to sign up for those. Like,
The no,
right?
you'll
No,
get a schedule when
they'll
you.
get a schedule. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Is it cool?
Okay, so you'll have your scheduled matches, and then you'll have a late afternoon practice queue. So they'll call you down when you need to go when it's your turn to practice, and then it won't really be scored, it won't count to your overall points, how much your ranking points, how good you do or how bad you do in that competition. Like it's just to practice basically. And then you'll hear announcements for queuing in the pits and probably everywhere. Like you'll see what match we're on, that'll be everywhere. And you just don't want to be late. So if you're you might be in the pits fixing your robot, but you
Yep.
want to try your hardest to get out at your times.
The volunteers will be there begging you
Yeah.
to go get in the queue
Mhm.
if you're supposed to be in the queue. And ultimately, if you are late, they've started not allowing you to play. So you need to show up for your matches. Even if your robot is not fully functional, you need to show up for your matches. Okay. So with the queue, they'll actually plan ahead. So you'll have the robots that are out on the field. There'll be another set of robots waiting to take the field, and then they'll be lining up the next set of robots. So they're 2 matches ahead. Okay. And they've started using the app. It's called FRCQ. Not all regionals may use it, but you can get text messages on up to like 5 phones um, when you are being queued. So you might want your drive coach and your driver and maybe your head mentor, all of that thing, all of those people to be getting those updates.
Yeah, and then for ranking points, what I've kind of been like talking about for a while, you could get those from doing a lot of different things based on what the competition is. So if there's autonomous, like this year there was, it'll just you might get some from that, but you might not. It just depends on what the competition is. It's really hard
Yeah.
to like say what they'll be from this year, but you could get different points from doing like different challenges. So if you complete like a certain challenge, then you'll get a ranking point.
Yeah. So typically there's up to four ranking, or typically there's 4 ranking points available in match. 2 for a win, 1 for a tie, and then 2 more for completing those specific tasks that Maddie is referring to. We will not know how that system is going to work until January 6th because each game is a little bit different. Okay, so last year it was based on um, your balancing on the charge station, and you earned points in autonomous for that, and you also earned points in the end game, the last 30 seconds for that. And if you had enough points with your alliance, you earned a ranking point. So I hate to emphasize winning, but um, the way that you are ranked will determine your alliance selections and whether you have control over your alliance selection or not. And you're not ranked based on wins and losses. You're ranked based on those ranking points and your ranking point average. So you want to pay attention to how your robot can earn those ranking points because ultimately that's what's going to put you at the top of the list of teams before alliance selections. Okay.
Yeah. So if you get picked for alliance selections, I'm gonna show you a little bit more how they work in a minute, but I'll explain a little bit now. So it's basically like the top 8 teams, but you can move up to the top 8 teams. So, but I'll get into that in a second. You could once you get picked, you either have to graciously decline or gratefully accept. So you'll have a team representative that will go down to the field and they'll like be there in place of your team. So they'll accept or decline for your team.
So declining is a thing. It's possible that you could decline.
Mm-hmm.
Last year at the Wisconsin Regional, they gave me a heart attack. We were not out on the field yet. Only the top 8 alliance captains were out there, and we were ranked like number 10 or 11. And alliance selections had begun, and we were invited to join an alliance, and we declined. And we weren't yet on the field, and so no one else could invite us. So the only way that we got out on the field, which thankfully we did, is enough of the teams that were already on the field invited each other, and they accepted. So we ended up moving into the number 8 alliance captain position. So that declining bit usually only happens if you're already on the field as an alliance captain
Mm-hmm.
and someone higher than you invites you to join. Okay, so like the number 3 alliance captain may say to the number 4 ranked team, would you like to join us? So they can choose to decline and remain the number 4 captain, or they can choose to accept and move up, in which case someone new moves into the last alliance captain position. I'm seeing a puzzled look. Okay.
Well, we're gonna play a game soon, so. And then who advances to champs? So by winning, there's a few different ways, but basically, if you want to advance by winning, you have to be either the captain or the first pick, and you have to be the winners of everything. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Or 2 other awards that we'll talk about.
yeah, we'll talk about that later. So we're gonna play a game now. It's basically rock paper scissors, but elimination robotics version. So there's 8 of us. I've been counting, so I'm very glad you walked into this room. So okay, we're each gonna have a partner to begin with, and then we're gonna play rock paper scissors. So here's how it's gonna go. So as you see here, there's 8 of us. So each of us will be one of these. We could just. It doesn't really matter if we're 1 or 8. Like but 2 people will go against each other and we'll all play rock paper scissors, and then once the people who win that, they'll move on, and then or yeah, the 2 winners from this will move on, and the 2 winners from this will move on, and then the 2 losers from, or yeah,
Mhm.
these 2 losers will move here, and these 2 losers will move here. And I feel bad calling you guys losers, but that's okay. And then the winners will move. The winners of these ones will move here, and then the losers will move down here. But once you are these 2 losers, once you've lost twice, you're out.
Yep.
So you only get to lose twice.
So eliminations is a double elimination bracket this year, and it was last year, and it worked wonderfully.
Mhm.
So lose twice and you're done. All right. Should we count off?
Yes.
1, you are the #1 alliance captain. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going against #1, and then the 4th alliance goes against the 5th, and then the 3rd against the 6th, and then the 2nd against the 7th. So go find your buddy.
Okay. So #2, you're with me. Come on up here.
You're with me.
Yep.
We could just do one. Yeah, because that's how
Okay.
it is in robotics. So you're just playing one game.
One game.
One game.
One game. All right. You ready?
Okay, so but you're not done yet because you're gonna.
Oh no.
What?
All right. So you,
Now you're loser #1.
we were right here, 7 and 2. Okay.
So who won?
So you are the winner.
You.
So you are going to play the winner
What?
of
Which one
match
are you?
3, which was 3 and 6.
Which
So
what
right there,
number
the
were
winner.
you? What number were you?
Winner. So you
before?
2 are going together. Okay. And I am down in the bottom. So
Oh, so you're.
I was
Wait, we have to make sure everybody's done.
I
so
was
we
the
don't get
loser
confused.
of
So-
match 4. Okay. So the loser of match 4, I am playing the loser of match 3.
So we have to find the loser of match 2. Okay, so I'm
All right,
playing
loser
you.
of match 3. I need you.
You're the loser.
All right.
You're playing.
You ready?
I was #4.
Oh,
You're
all right.
number
I
4?
am
I
out.
was #4 alliance captain.
I am done.
And I won.
So you
Okay, but now you're
are
now you're
advancing.
but
So
you were the second
you
alliance. Or
No, I was
won
but,
here.
Wait, then who am I playing against?
So you are going to play the loser of match
I think
7,
they're supposed to play each other.
Okay.
which was right there. So you might have to wait for them. Okay, so we need the loser of match 7.
Okay.
Which would be match.
You win.
I lost twice. I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm
now
used to the Big Bang Theory.
So-
rock, paper, scissors, loser, spot.
We're out.
you're out. Okay.
Anyone else lose twice
So-
already? Nope. All right.
Okay.
So. Okay.
Who are
so
the winners of who's not lost yet? You haven't lost yet, and you haven't lost yet. So you guys are playing each other.
Okay.
And then
you guys are each pairing up here. Just go ahead and pair up.
okay. So you could. So you.
Loser of match 8 plays the winner of match 5.
So you're the winner, or you're the loser of match. Wait.
Lost first, 1 second.
Okay. So you guys could play each other.
Yep.
And I'll
each other,
play
each
you.
other. Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay.
Okay. So Maddie's out.
So now I'm out, and then
Okay. So
whoever,
now you two, because they.
so whoever lost this is out. You're out. Okay.
I won.
So
Yep. And you're gonna await the winner of this match. So go ahead. All right. Now we're in the finals. The 2 of you have made it to the finals. Finals are best of 3. So let's take it on. Best of 3. All right. Here we go. All right. 1 for Jane. 1. All right. We have our winner. All right. Okay, go ahead and have a seat. So that is the eliminations. So prior to that, you would have formed your alliance of 3. Not all teams get in the eliminations. There are 8 alliances of 3, so 24 teams get in. And lots of regionals have 45 to 60 teams. Okay. So alliance selections, the top 8 ranks go out on the field. #1 picks who they would like or invites who they would like. If their team accepts, #2 picks. If their team accepts, #3 picks, and it goes all the way around to #8. If at any point in time they pick someone who's already on the field, everybody moves up one, and the next team comes on the field to assume the number 8 captain spot. So it goes from 1 to 8, and then it goes backwards from 8 to 1. So 1 makes the first pick and the last pick. 8 makes 2 picks in a row. Okay.
Right. So even if you're not in the top 8 teams, you still want to be ready to pick. Like if you're 9th or 10th or 11th, like there's a chance that you'll get moved up. So you want to be ready with your picks and who you're gonna pick. Mm-hmm. So you're not.
So on Friday night, after the first day of qualifications, our team will plan a pick meeting, and we'll get together and we'll say, okay, in the situation where we may be able to pick an alliance, these are the teams that we would like to choose. These are the teams that we maybe don't want to choose. These are the teams that we want to keep an eye on tomorrow. Okay. All right. We've got about 8 minutes. So.
Okay. So scouting in the stands. Scouting is basically just you have to look at the other robots. What could the other robots do? We have a scouting system where our game strategy team lead, she made us like basically a checklist of all the different things that the robots can do, and we have to just check off like this year it was like how high did they score most of the time, and you just had to like write down everything that they scored and what their robot could do and what challenges it could complete. So it'll just range depending on what the competition is. So you could scout in the pits and in the stands. So if you're sitting in the stands, you could watch how the robot's doing on the field. And then if you're in the pits, then you would be looking at like specific details of the robot. Like you could talk to teams and be like, oh, what can your robot do? Can it balance? Can it shoot? Can it just whatever the competition strategies are? And then see what's different about their robot from yours. Like, do they have a claw instead of like something else? Yeah, a claw instead of arms. So just like see the different robots and just observe. You could also have scouting alliances with other teams, which is what we do. We work with other teams to share our data. So they share their data with us and we share ours with them, and then we just like look at everything and see how good the data is. Other things you could be doing in the stands is meeting new people. So it's not that weird here to just like go up to people and like make friends with other teams. Like just go talk to other teams. Be like, hey, what's your robot do? Which one's yours? Just ask them questions like, what could your robot do? Just specific questions about the robot. And then you could always be looking for mascots and costumes because there's some pretty fun ones. I personally am not a fan of mascots, but other people are. So.
Are you afraid of mascots, Maddie?
I am afraid of mascots, but that's okay. But there's some pretty cool ones. Yeah.
The overall impression I'm getting from this is the other teams are your opponents, but they're not your enemies.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they're also your teammates. They're your teammates and they're your opponents. So you just have to work with everybody.
Gracious professionalism is one of the key components of FIRST. And it was the thing that made the biggest impression on me at a regional as a rookie. All of a sudden, our robot is broken. We don't have a replacement part. Teams are coming running to give us replacement parts. They are doing everything they can do to make our robot the best it can be so that they have the strongest competition and the best alliances that they can have. We're out there to make everybody better. Okay.
Yeah, so there's also a lot of, sorry.
So what I'm picking up is that even though there is a competition, it's a little bit like a sport. It's not like a disputing sport. So like the overarching point of it is learning.
Exactly. It would, like our basketball coach would never do this, but would be almost like giving the other team his plays before the game. Okay. Lots of times you are randomly assigned to alliance for someone during quals. You may play with them in one match, and in the next match you are randomly assigned to play against them. But you want your robot and your students to be the best they can be. So make everybody else the best they can be. You have stronger competition. Just make everybody better.
And you're
Okay.
also going to want to like work towards working well with other teams, like making those connections and building those connections with other teams so that like when they're the first ranked team and they're doing really awesome and then you're the third ranked team and they might not want to pick you, they're going to want to like they're going to want to work with you and you're going to be the best team together. So you
Yeah.
really want to.
I think they're going to be really disappointed when they find out we don't have time to dance.
Yeah, sorry guys. We were supposed to have a dance time, but I guess we don't have
So,
time for that.
if you don't know the Macarena, learn it.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's advance.
Also, listen to First Train. um, so cheers. There's a lot of cheering going on, like a lot of cheering. I'm not gonna make you guys do the cheers. I know how much you wanted to, but I'm not gonna make you do that because we don't have time. So, do you guys know your team's cheers? Yep.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And along those same lines of this being one big family, if the announcer says, "What time is it?" the entire stadium is going to shout 9:30, not just 9:30.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
really fun. We know like so many other teams cheers, and we'll just be like cheering for other teams, which you would never do at like a basketball game. Like when I went to a basketball game yesterday, and I was not cheering for the opposing team, I was cheering for our team. But like I could cheer for opposing teams at robotics competitions. So
You just want to see everyone succeed.
yeah.
You know, last year there were so many robots that would tip over, and
Mhm.
everybody would just cheer so loudly when they managed to right themselves again.
Mhm.
You know.
And then the Red Alliance and Blue Alliance. So if you're on the Red Alliance, you're gonna be cheering for Red Alliance, and so there's a lot of cheering like that. And then Blue Alliance, you'll be like Blue Alliance, and yeah, it's pretty fun. Should I move on? You know how many more slides we have? So opportunities to learn at competitions are there's an impact exchange. So if anybody here is helping out with impact, you get to like present your impact, or if you don't want to present it, you could just listen to other teams present theirs. And it's really helpful to get that idea of like what other teams are doing and how they're presenting it. And like when I've gone to them, it's really helped me with my confidence and also like learning about what other teams are doing. And then there's also a lot of workshops just like these where you could just learn from other people and ask questions. Just ask questions to anyone, like anyone who you think could answer your question. If you have one, just ask it. Like nobody's gonna be like, no, I don't want to answer your question. You're on another team as me. Like nobody's gonna do that. And then just observe, like watch other teams, watch what they're doing, how they're acting, you know. And then is anybody here helping with impact at all? Not
Okay.
yet. So in the pit, there's a lot to do. You could collect buttons and stickers, and there's this one team that has little dinosaurs, and it's really cute. You could ask other teams questions, but just make sure they're not busy. Like you don't want to be going up to a team and they have a broken part, and they're like, "I can't answer your questions right now." Like just stay out of the way a little bit, and just help out where you can. Like if your team needs some help, if you know how to fix a part, be like, "Oh, do you need help with that?" But make sure you're not in the way. And if they're like, "No," just go back to the stands or walk around the pit some more. But don't just make sure you're out of the way. Watch out for robots. They're always coming through, and they're gonna be like robot, and you have to move over to the side really quick. It always catches me off guard.
So, and safety is a big thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so we are 1 minute here, so let's see what else we got.
Okay.
We've talked a little bit about this already. Yep.
Yeah. Be kind. Celebration. So basically, awards. There's a bunch of different awards you could get. The Impact will send you to Worlds, and so will the Engineering and Inspiration Award. So those are two big ones to win. And then winners will obviously also go to Worlds. So this is just a list of a bunch of.
Yep.
And then there's a mentor parade. Pretty
Yep.
cool.
And during the award ceremony, you can see the judges are lined up down there on the field. Teams will come down, high five all the judges. So if you've done First Lego League, it's very similar to that award ceremony. Okay.
So does anybody have any questions?
How long are the like competitions usually, like each match, I guess?
Matches are 2.5 minutes roughly. Yeah. So the first 15 seconds are autonomous, and then it's free match play, and then the end game. So. All right.
Okay.
Well,
And
thank
the
you
days
all.
are long.
Yeah.
Yes.
try to come in well rested, which I know is an impossible thing to do, but the days are long. Opening ceremonies is usually like 8:30, and match play will go till maybe 6-ish at night. So
Yep. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, ferrodermis.org,
Yeah.
ferrodermis@gmail.com. We forgot to bring our business cards, but
Yeah.
so
It means iron skin. So fair means iron and dermis means skin. So we're iron skin.
we're actually named after a thermos. If that was their
Why did I know
inspiration.
that?
That was their inspiration. It was sitting on a
We don't
table.
usually go around
They were
telling people
brainstorming
that.
names, and they're like, "Oh, like it's got like skin on it." Like, oh, like okay. There are some really cool names out there. So. All right. Thank you all very, very much. Hope you enjoy your next session.